Ortiz. I'm the head of ICTSD, and I'm delighted to be here. It's difficult to overstate how privileged we all are to be in this wonderful city. It's also very hard to avoid thinking that it is a captivating place. I'm delighted to be back. Last time I was here, it was a couple of years ago with a number of you at a meeting that was organized by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Turkey for Asian LDCs. So again, I'm very happy to be here and to be among so many friends and old colleagues. I think Deb Bhattacharya may have said something about this partnership that has organized this meeting, but allow me to just join what he had said to thank all of our partners in this effort. For us at ICTSD, it's a great privilege to be working always with good friends like the Center for Policy Dialogue in Bangladesh, the Commonwealth Secretariat, the OECD Development Center, and on this occasion, TESAF here in Turkey. I know from my partners that have been working closely with all of them that it has been a very special relationship, and that we're all very impressed by how effective all of you have been in your roles. So thank you very much. On that, let me also use this opportunity to recognize my colleague Miguel Rodriguez Mendoza, who's known to many of you in the trade world. Miguel is the person that has led, on behalf of ICTSD, this endeavor, together with a very small team, but a very good team of colleagues from ICTSD. So thank you, Miguel. I'll go ahead and introduce the panel very quickly. We have had some changes in the agenda that you have with you. Unfortunately, Pascal Lamy, who had confirmed his participation to us, has now informed us at a very last minute that he has been allocated time with the Prime Minister, and well, we know how priorities go, particularly for international civil servants. But we're very thankful to Pascal, to his people in his office. We know how committed he is to these topics, but we also know that he's very committed to participating with what Marty Bassini mentioned as or highlighted as these new actors and these new partnerships, and trying to be part of this 21st century governance, if you like. So Pascal Lamy is not going to be with us, but on the good news, we have an excellent panel that includes His Excellency Minister Ketso, the Minister of Trade and Industry of the Kingdom of Lesotho. Minister Ketso has been the host for LDC meetings in the past, and so you're probably familiar with him. We also have, as one of the good news, now that Pascal Lamy will not be joining us, former Trade Minister of Zambia, a very publicly known figure in Zambia, Enoch Kabindele. Again, thank you very much, Mr. Kabindele, for making it this morning and being with us. Then we have Dr. Pandey, who again from Nepal, chairman of SAWAT, the South Asia Watch on Trade, Economics and Environment. Dr. Pandey led the accession process of his country to the WTO, and is a well-known economist and trade expert in the region, not only in Nepal. So again, it's a pleasure seeing you, Dr. Pandey, and we're very happy to have you here. In the agenda, you had Peter Draper. Peter, as he was taking his flight last night, the flight never took off, and so again, he will probably arrive later, if at all, but he will not be with us on this panel. We have Mr. Luno Gello, Hosanna Lunogelo, who is the executive director in Tanzania of one of the most credible, respected think tanks on issues related to trade and international economics, and Mustafizur Rahman, the executive director of the Center for Policy Dialogue. So that will be the panel. The topic that we have been given for this second panel is enhancing trade capacities in LDCs. We'll be looking both at the supply side issues related to LDCs and to trade in LDCs, but also at the market access questions, and so sort of like the push and pull forces on trade. A quick remark from the comments that were made in the previous panel before we go on. I'd say that I was always struck by the frankness of my good friend Mehmet Arda and the brilliant remarks of Charles Gore and all of the panelists. Really, the comments made by Mario Pezzini on governance, particularly. It's very interesting that I was thinking about this notion that we're here talking about the LDCs in a UN conference that it has attracted somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 people, and we hear, I think it was Mehmet saying that other than these conferences, the LDCs are not really in the mind of anybody else. I arrived here in town last night, or this morning rather, about 4 o'clock in the morning, because I was coming from London. And in London, I was at the Inception meeting, which was set up as a strategic planning exercise on research. The Inception meeting for a new institute that described itself as a new intergovernmental institution of the 21st century type. So I was there with colleagues from the World Bank, the OECD, the UN, and so on. This is a Korean-led initiative called the Global Green Growth Institute. And so now it has as partners other governments, Norway, Denmark, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and some other governments. And so it's an intergovernmental organization. The interesting thing about this is that so the meeting was at the London School of Economics, chaired by Lord Nicholas Stern, and the interesting thing is that they define themselves as an institution that is driven by the imperative, the moral imperative of growth, not on the environment, the Global Green Growth Institute, but growth. The first set of countries on which they will be acting are India, Brazil, Indonesia, Brazil, and Ethiopia, which is also quite interesting as a combination of countries. Now, if you think about those that are providing the funds, those countries that they're looking at, and the issue that they're looking at, they may be indeed new thinking and sort of this 21st century proposition. So their concern is that governance has been monopolized by top-down approaches to international cooperation. And what they'd like to do is support the bottom-up world. The bottom-up world that comes with solutions on this imperative of growth. Now, the fascinating thing is that through the day, we never talk about LDCs. We did talk about theories of development. We talk about different schools of thought on economics. We obviously put the emphasis on natural resource constraints and doing sort of prospecting into the future about the management of the scarcity and the management of the challenges, some of which, again, were mentioned by some of you this morning, of demographics, then employment, productivity, and then with the question of resources. But LDCs was not mentioned even once category of countries. People think about the world in other terms, and they obviously slice it, if you like, for analytical purposes, but also for operational purposes in many other ways. Yet, in the WTO, in the UN, in a number of other institutions, we have decided to think about LDCs because we recognize some particularities to them. So the question, I think, and I follow again the previous panel on this, is if we recognize that they're particular, how is it that we can come up with some thinking that is really appropriate to their particularity? And then with international cooperative action schemes, mechanisms, no matter whether they are top-down or bottom-up, that do the trick of helping these countries graduate, meaning, again, getting out of that particularity of being where they are. So I think these are the challenges. I'd like to just emphasize again the question that was particularly highlighted by Mario Bassini, that we're in a new world. And in that new world, with these new actors, it is very appropriate that we are in Turkey. But that also means that we need to identify the role for those new actors in helping the international community overcome that challenge that is posed again by those weaker economies, those weaker members of the international economy. So with that, let me turn to the panel, brother. And I'll ask Minister Ketzel to get us started. I'll ask you to make your choice and speak either from the panel here or from the stand over there. The previous panelists decided to address themselves from the stand. So as you feel comfortable. Please, Minister, you have the floor.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It's an honor to have been invited between the last minute to be a panelist in these discussions and on a very important topic for that matter. A lot has been said on this topic since we came into Turkey, but I believe there is also a lot that has not been said, and the questions of how still remain outdated. So I will limit my interventions here to two areas. The issue of market access, quickly dispense with that. Then I'll comment on productive capabilities. That's very important areas of enhancing trade capacities in LDCs. Market access is very important for entry of LDCs products in international markets, and it is essential for their development and transformation of their economies. But a lot of constraints still have to be met, or at least some improvements have to be made in that area. Advances have been made, of course, by the EU and other countries, special areas, but there are a number of improvements that can still be made. The EU, for example, has relaxed its rules of origin for LDCs products, at least to 5